I've been removing the labels from my beauty products for a little over 2 months now, and I've been saving some of the labels to do a craft with. I've been wanting to do a craft with the labels for a really long time. I've actually always kind of wanted to do something with makeup packaging. I'm going to see if I can try and find a photo, but I used to save like every single box that makeup came in. So all of the makeup packaging, I used to save it, and I always had this idea of doing something with it, but that never really happened. I think I had a really hard time seeing everything as not makeup related, so I wasn't able to ever visualize anything to do with it. But today I'm taking inspiration from the junk journaling community. A lot of people make suggestions about putting labels in a notebook to kind of save the important information from them. That's not really where I'm going with this, but I do like that idea of saving labels in a notebook and maybe documenting whether you like the product or not and whether you would purchase it again. I knew for this project too, I wanted to include makeup that I've decluttered, so I'm using a little bit of that, but right now I'm using eyeshadows from an eyeshadow palette that I depotted, which I think is very cool of me and very evident of how far I've come, because I'm still going to use these eyeshadows as eyeshadows, but since removing the labels from my products, I've realized that I've put so much identity onto the things that I own because the brands have put identity onto the things that they sell. They do this because it is much easier to sell you an idea than sell you something that you don't need. And it took me a really long time to realize that, but it wasn't until I started removing my labels that I started to value the function of the things that I owned far more than the identity and the idea that the brand sold to me. I've been working on getting a handle on my overconsumption for about 3 years now, but it wasn't until recently that I realized how much my mind was being consumed by consumerism. Removing the labels from my products gave me immediate disassociation from the brand, and it was shocking how much mental clarity I gained when brands stopped having a voice. I've done a lot of reflecting on how much of my identity I attached to the brands that I bought and the brands that I deemed important and valuable, while also reflecting on the fact that brands take on an identity themselves and put identity onto the products that they're selling in order for you to buy them. It's a lot easier to sell you ideas than it is to sell you things that you don't need. They're not selling you cleanser, shampoo, and blush. They're selling you good skin, good hair, and rosy cheeks. Because if they were selling you lip balm, you wouldn't own 10 of them. Brands sell you the perfect product that you've been waiting for so that you feel justified in buying an eyeshadow palette that you didn't need. We end up with 3 sets of shampoos and conditioners in our shower, or 15 different lip liners that are all the same color, because we are valuing what the brands are saying about their products more than the items that we already own. And when we value the ideas that the brands are selling us, they end up becoming a part of our identity. What brands we do or do not buy has become a form of self-expression. And I feel like we see this a lot when we use brands to validate our morals and our values. I can see how that can happen in a society that is so plagued by overconsumption, but I think that that's a huge mistake. Because brands have taken on an identity, they can do things that make us, humans, feel like we relate to them. And we see a lot of that when brands take a stand on important issues, or even just make it clear in their marketing that they have ethics and morals. And we show our support and almost like our appreciation toward that by buying things from them. And because we have so much of our identity tied up in the things that we own, then if a brand does something bad and you own some of those items, that can't possibly be a representation of you. And I kind of wonder what it would be like if we stopped caring. And I don't mean don't care that brands are doing bad things. I think that we should care about that sort of thing. But I think that the relationship between brand and consumer has left us completely powerless. We think that we have the power because we hold the dollar, but what we're not realizing is that this relationship has been set up so that we owe brands our money, our time, and our identities. We've been made to believe that we can buy style, buy creativity, buy organization, buy our health, our intelligence, our likes and dislikes, our hobbies. You can go on Amazon and search up any hobby you want to start, and there is a bundle listed for $50 that you can buy and get it delivered to your house the next day, and you have everything that you need for that hobby. And we have been made to believe that that is a good thing, that we have access to convenience and we can do whatever we want because we can buy whatever we need to do the things that we want to do. But at that point, we have lost the plot completely because there is so much beauty and discovery in slow curation, in being resourceful with the tools that you have. The chance to slow down is what's going to bring you creativity and innovation and make you a curious person. What I really regret about my makeup journey is that I let consumerism be a disease in my passion. There was once a time when I was young that I had like one eyeshadow palette, one blush, and I spent hours on YouTube watching tutorials and trying to learn everything that I could about makeup application. I valued the tools that I had and their functions by mixing formulas together to create new textures and finishes. And at that time, what I was really passionate about was just learning and wanting to also teach people what I've learned and talk about it. I kind of wonder what that passion would look like today if I didn't let consumerism be the way that I expressed it. I think even me saying beauty influencer is funny because what I'm really describing is a makeup guru, which is how it all started. In the beginning, you would have never called them beauty influencers. That wasn't even a term to use. They were beauty gurus or makeup gurus. I don't know if this is just me, but there was some point where calling myself a makeup guru felt kind of embarrassing, and makeup influencer was much more glamorous. And I think that that's interesting when you can see how we've made the switch from valuing knowledge and function to valuing what we can buy and convenience. Your beauty influencer is going to sell you the products that you feel like are missing from your collection and your routine, but your makeup guru is going to teach you how to use the makeup you already own. And because we've let brands and the things we buy become such a big part of our identity, we ruined everything by letting brands and profit into our passion. When you think about the people that might resemble a makeup guru today, think about how many of those people work very closely with specific brands or even develop their own product. I feel like you hear over and over again how saturated the market is, and it totally is, but there's never any emphasis being put on stopping it. We're still putting so much value on brands that have a lot to say, brands that have entire teams that follow trends and figure out how to talk to you in a way that you'll listen. I think back to the beginning, and I remember there being a handful of brands that were smaller and had small collections of really thoughtful product. It was the kind of product that you would slowly curate a collection with. The kind of collection that is functional and practical and everything has a purpose. To me, that sounds like the collection of someone with a true passion for makeup artistry. But unfortunately, today we would see a collection like that and believe somebody's a novice. Today, people show off their love and passion for makeup by just owning a lot of it. Flaunting massive makeup collections is a sign that you are tapped in and that you follow trends. And this overconsumption gets disguised because you justify it as self-expression. And you will never be satisfied with your interests and your hobbies if you interact with them in that way. What I've liked most about decentering brands is I feel way more in control. The mental clarity has made so much room for thought and reflection, and it's allowed me to see the world through a different perspective. A perspective that doesn't value brands or marketing, one that values taking care of the things I own and slowing down. And I've been really open to new ways I can decenter brands in my life. You might have noticed that I am listening to music on a little iPod. I recently got it secondhand for $45, and I'm going to be canceling my Spotify membership. Streaming memberships are another thing that we've been made to feel very powerful by using, because why have a really thoughtful and curated DVD collection when you can have access to a million movies and still feel like you have nothing to watch? With Spotify, I'm paying $12 a month to listen to the same 3 albums for 6 months straight. I think in theory, having access to any album and song you can think of is cool, but I think it makes the experience of listening so much less satisfying. Kind of like how you never feel satisfied by the movie selection on Netflix and Hulu. I am having so much fun with my iPod, and I feel like the experience of listening to music has just been completely elevated. For starters, it's something that's disconnected from my phone, which I really like. I love that I can travel from room to room without my phone in my pocket and still listen to music. I'm actually looking forward to having an album be released by an artist I really like and being able to experience the anticipation that comes with that. Whether it be waiting for the album to download or waiting for the CD to come in the mail, being able to have anything in an instant has really dulled our experiences. And I truly think that we are just worse off because of it. So this this is me taking back my power and my control and letting my hobbies and interests flourish without consumerism. At least the type of consumerism that left me with so much stuff and no satisfaction. I'm about done with my project for today. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video and listening to what I had to say. I would love to keep this conversation going in the comments down below, so let me know your thoughts. Please subscribe if you aren't already, and I'll see you next time.